At the heart of the village stood the old stone well, its worn rims smooth from generations of hands. A girl, perhaps 12, lowered her wooden pail with practiced ease, the rope groaning slightly as it turned over the worn pulley. She hummed a lullaby under her breath, the same tune her mother sang as she tucked the family in at night. With the pail full, she turned homeward, feet crunching softly over the packed earth path as a pair of chickens darted across her path, returning to their coop before the light disappeared. The cottages of Elderberry Hollow were modest, yet endearing in their time-worn charm. Built of timber and stone, their thatched roofs glowed with the amber light of the setting sun. Moss grew thick between the cobbles, and ivy curled up the sides of walls like nature's own embroidery. Windows were small, panes of oiled parchment letting through only a softened version of the outside world. From inside one home, the silhouette of a woman moved slowly about, lighting a rushlight and adjusting a clay pot over the hearth. The village blacksmith, a tall, broad-shouldered man named Halric, stood just outside his forge. He wiped the soot from his brow with a thick cloth, surveying the tools hanging on the wall. The forge had gone cold now. No more hammering tonight, only the faint warmth that lingered in the embers. He exhaled through his nose, satisfied, and hung up his apron. As he turned toward his cottage, his youngest daughter ran to greet him, barefoot and grinning, her cheeks smudged with flour from helping her mother in the kitchen. She reached up and he lifted her easily into his arms. The day's labor was behind him. All that remained now was warmth, family, and the peaceful hush of twilight. Down by the edge of the village, a row of goats clattered up a wooden ramp into their shelter, nudged along by a boy with a crooked smile and a stick too large for his size. He whistled as he worked, a simple meandering tune. Above him, smoke curled lazily from a chimney, dark against the fading pastel sky. A woman leaned from her doorway, calling softly to her son that supper was ready. The boy tipped his head and waved, making one last round to count the goats before jogging up the lane, the stick thumping rhythmically against the dirt. As the sun touched the horizon, the sky turned a dusky lavender, streaked with delicate threads of coral and rose. A soft mist began to settle in the low places, near the brook, between hedges, along the meadow's edge. The water in the village stream whispered over smooth stones, its quiet song unchanged for centuries. Somewhere far off, a cow lowed in the distance, followed by the metallic clink of a pail. The world was winding down. Near the chapel, the elderly Father Alwyn rang the small iron bell, not to summon, but to signal the day's end. He did so each evening, though most villagers no longer came for evening prayers. It didn't matter. The bell's tone was as much a part of Elderberry Hollow as the cobbled paths and the scent of stew on a winter night. It echoed gently through the lanes, a reminder of rhythm, of time, of comfort. One need not attend to hear its blessing. Inside the bakery, thick wooden doors had been latched for the night, but warmth still radiated from within. Breads baked earlier in the day lay cooling on slatted shelves, the crusts golden and cracked just right. A single candle burned beside the hearth, where the baker's wife sat knitting, her fingers moving in time with the ticking of the old hourglass beside her. Tomorrow would bring another batch of flour, another long knead, another rising undercloth, but not yet. Tonight was for rest. Past the last row of cottages, where the village gave way to fields and low stone walls, an old shepherd sat beneath a tree, his back against the bark, his cloak wrapped tightly around his shoulders. His dog lay curled at his feet, head tucked beneath a paw. The sheep had already huddled together, still and safe in their pen. He watched the sky darken, blinking slowly, listening to the owls wake up in the trees above. There was a comfort in this, knowing each night came just as it had before, bringing with it quiet, familiar things. In the center of the village square, an oil lamp was lit atop a carved post. It flickered bravely against the wind, its flame dancing behind a small glass pane. One by one, the other lamps followed, sending pools of warm light into the creeping shadows. A few villagers remained outside, exchanging soft words as they returned from errands or shared bits of news. But even these voices were gentle, as if the night asked not for silence, but softness. In one home, a young couple tucked their toddler into a cradle near the fire. The baby yawned and grumbled, protesting sleep in the way all babies do, but soon quieted, under the weight of a woolen blanket and the slow rhythm of a lullaby, sung just under breath. The mother traced a pattern over the cradle's edge, a habit born of love and repetition, while the father stirred a small pot of oats for tomorrow's breakfast, its scent rising in soft steam. Not far from them, an elderly woman sat in a rocking chair by the shuttered window, holding a spindle in one hand and wool in the other. Her motions were slow, meditative. The creak of the chair and the soft twist of the yarn were the only sounds in the room. She hummed as she worked, a tune older than she was, one passed to her from her grandmother's lips in that very same cottage. The fire crackled quietly in the hearth, its light casting gentle shadows across the stone walls. Overhead, stars began to prick through the navy sky, first one, then a handful, then 100. The moon, round and soft, hovered just above the trees, casting pale light across the thatched rooftops. Somewhere nearby, a barn owl let out a single mellow call. The wind shifted slightly, drawing curtains in and out of windows like breath. As darkness deepened, homes glowed gently from within, lanterns and candles illuminating hearths and corners, straw beds and wooden chests. Doors were latched, not out of fear, but for comfort. Windows shuttered not to keep things out, but to keep the warmth in. The world had grown small, a single village wrapped in quiet. The forests beyond were hushed, the hills slumbering beneath starlight. No carriages passed, no travelers approached, just Elderberry Hollow, as it had been for generations, easing into its evening with care. And you, dear listener, are here now too. You walk through the lanes, unseen but welcome. You pass each home, feeling the comfort of warm light through parchment windows. You step lightly over cobblestones, hear the faintest murmur of laughter, the rustle of straw, the creak of timber as homes settle into silence. Perhaps you pause beside the well. The bucket rests beside it now, its rope coiled neatly on the stone. A toad chirps softly from the shadows, and the air carries the smell of chamomile, of baked earth, of worn wood. There is no rush, no duties await, no voices call. You are a guest of the village, and tonight all it asks of you is to rest, to breathe, to be still beneath its blanket of stars. Let the wind carry you now toward rest. Let the soft light fade around you. Let the quiet sounds of Elderberry Hollow settle gently in your thoughts. The day is done. The night has come. And the village, like you, is ready for sleep. The doors of Elderberry Hollow's cottages closed gently as twilight deepened into night. Outside, the wind continued its slow drift over the rooftops, rustling the thatch like a lullaby played just for the village. Inside, the world became smaller, warmer, more fragrant with wood smoke, stew, and the faint sweetness of drying herbs. Let us step quietly into one such home, the cottage of the Thatcher family near the edge of the village. The door creaks gently on its hinges as it opens inward, revealing a single open room that serves as kitchen, sitting room, and sleeping quarters all in one. The floor is packed earth, swept smooth and scattered with woven rushes. The walls are timber and daub, thick with centuries of smoke and comfort. A wide stone hearth dominates one end of the room, where the fire burns low now, banked for the night but still offering a gentle, radiant warmth. Above the hearth hangs a blackened iron pot, nestled among low flames, holding the remnants of the evening supper, a hearty pottage of barley, leeks, and root vegetables. The scent lingers in the air, mingled with the fragrance of wild thyme and chamomile that hang in bunches from the ceiling beams, drying slowly in the heat from the fire. In one corner, a stack of round, coarse loaves rests beneath a clean linen cloth, ready for tomorrow's meals. A crock of butter sits nearby, nestled in a bed of cool straw. The family moves quietly through their bedtime rituals. The eldest daughter, in her early teens, finishes sweeping the rushes by the door, gathering the dust and stray twigs from the day into a small wicker pan. Her little brother, barely more than 5, plays with a carved wooden ox near the hearth, murmuring a made-up story about fields and dragons. The father checks the shutters, making sure each one is latched and snug against the cooling night air. The wooden pegs that hold them closed are smooth from years of use, fitted perfectly into their carved grooves. On a shelf beside the hearth sits a shallow clay basin. The mother pours warm water into it, dipping a rough linen cloth and gently wiping her youngest child's face and hands. The baby gurgles softly, lulled by the familiar touch and the flickering firelight. One by one, each family member washes the dust of the day from their hands and feet, sighing softly as they do. The water, now darkened with soot and soil, is carried outside and poured onto the garden plot where herbs and leeks grow in neat rows. Back inside, the father lifts a heavy woolen curtain that divides the main room from a small alcove, barely large enough to stand in, where he and his wife sleep. The bed is made from a wooden frame with ropes stretched tightly across, supporting a mattress stuffed with straw and sheep's wool. Above the bed hangs a small woven cross, a symbol of blessing and protection. A single beeswax candle burns on a wooden shelf, casting gentle light on the blankets below. Coarse, well mended, but warm. The children's bedding is simpler. Piles of straw covered in woolen wraps and linen sheets, spread neatly along the wall opposite the hearth. Each blanket is a little different. One dyed with madder root, giving it a rosy hue, another a faded blue, colored with woad, and one entirely undyed, soft and sheep gray. They settle in together, giggling softly, as the eldest hushes them with exaggerated seriousness. She shares a story, one passed from her grandmother, about a fox who wore boots and outwitted a knight. Her voice hushed but full of drama. Overhead, the beams of the cottage stretch dark and solid, some bent slightly with age. Between them, bundles of lavender and rosemary hang beside drying onions and strings of mushrooms, A squirrel's tail hangs too. A lucky charm said to keep away bad dreams. Tucked beside one beam, an old bird's nest rests undisturbed, the family long since flown, but the cottage owner's too sentimental to remove it. A cat pads softly across the room, tail held high. She pauses near the hearth, circles twice, and curls into a tight ball on a small fur mat. Her slow, steady purring rises and falls like waves on a pond. No one pays her much mind. She's always there, a creature of habit, never far from warmth or crumbs. The mother lowers the candle's wick, and the light dims slightly. She sits beside the hearth now, her hands busy with mending. A sock worn thin at the heel, a shirt with a frayed cuff. Her needle moves smoothly through the fabric, guided more by memory than sight. Every so often, she pauses to listen, to the crackle of the fire, to the breathing of her children, to the creak of the wooden roof settling above her. A gust of wind whistles down the chimney, making the fire flutter and the shadows dance across the walls. Outside, a light rain begins to fall, tapping gently against the thatched roof and the wooden shutters. It's a soothing sound, familiar and soft, like the voice of the village itself singing the world to sleep. In the alcove, the father lies down, his back creaking slightly as he stretches out beneath the covers. He sighs, the kind of deep, quiet sigh that only comes at the end of a long, well-spent day. His wife joins him moments later, blowing gently on the candle before slipping beneath the blankets. The room dims further, the fire the only light now, casting a low, amber glow. From another cottage nearby, a faint melody drifts through the wall. Someone playing a flute, slow and wandering, like a lullaby for the whole village. It's not precise or practiced, but it is beautiful in its imperfection. The notes carry across rooftops and rain, a gentle echo of comfort and companionship. In a different home, a widow sits alone, her dog curled at her feet. She sips a mug of warm milk steeped with sage, staring quietly into the fire. A carved wooden comb rests beside her, its teeth smoothed by decades of use. She runs it through her hair with long, steady strokes, her eyes growing heavy with sleep. On the wall, a small tapestry hangs, faded but treasured, woven by her mother when she was still a child. It shows the same cottage, the same hearth, the same tree that still stands outside the door. She smiles as she looks at it, then leans back, pulling a shawl around her shoulders. The dog shifts in its sleep, sighing, and the fire pops quietly in reply. Elsewhere, a young couple share a single bed, newlywed, and still whispering secrets into each other's ears. Their hands rest intertwined atop the blanket, their eyes not quite closed. They speak of the future, of planting garlic next week, of building a bigger coop for the hens, of the faint hope for a child by spring. Their laughter is low, contented, and soon fades into silence. Every home in Elderberry Hollow has its own rhythm, its own little story, yet all share the same ritual now. The end of the day, the warmth of fire, the softness of wool, the hush of candlelight. Sleep does not come all at once, but in slow ripples, like a pebble dropped in a still pond, touching each life, each room, each breath. Outside, the rain grows steadier, and the thatch holds firm. The scent of wet grass and wood smoke curls under the eaves, slipping into every crevice. Tiny rivulets run down the grooves of stone walls, disappearing into the thirsty earth below. Inside, the fire begins to fade. Red coals glow faintly, barely illuminating the corners of the room. The family sleeps now, the children in their nests of wool and straw, the parents behind the curtain, the cat by the fire. Even the spinning wheel rests, still as stone, its last thread trailing from the spindle like a sigh. All is still. And somewhere beneath the covers, behind closed eyes and calm faces, dreams begin to form of spring meadows, of bread fresh from the oven, of festivals and music and sunlit streams. Dreams woven from the threads of daily life, simple, sturdy, and full of quiet joy. Here in these cottages of wood and woven wool, the world is at rest. The day is gone. The fire is low, and you two are safe and warm beneath a roof built with love, wrapped in the silence of night. Let yourself drift now, as the wind moves past the shutters and the rain sings against the roof. Let your thoughts grow softer, slower, lighter, like wool carted into clouds. There is nothing left to do, nothing to worry about. You are home in this quiet place, in this gentle time. Sleep now. The morning in Elderberry Hollow always begins with the softest of sounds. The cooing of doves in the rafters of the granary, the first clink of a pail against the stone lip of the well, the scrape of a wooden door easing open as the village slowly wakes. But you're not there for the morning. You've arrived in memory, in story, a peaceful glide through the village's daily life, not as it is this moment, but as it always is, gently turning with the seasons. Life here moves slowly. It is deliberate, not dull, like a wheel that's been greased just enough to turn smoothly, steadily, without rush or drag. No clock ticks loudly in this village. Time is kept by the sun and the shadows, by the rooster's call and the angle of smoke drifting through the air. In Elderberry Hollow, most things are made by hand. The tools used to mend, to shape, to build, they carry the imprint of generations. The village carpenter, Master Adric, keeps his chisels wrapped in wool, lined up with care on a wooden rack he built in his youth. He carves new handles for old brooms, mends door hinges, and, when there's time, fashions small toys for the children. Spinning tops, wooden sheep, and little carts with uneven wheels that still delight. The potter, a quiet man named Simon, lives by the river's edge, where clay is easy to find, and the wheel sits near a window for light. His hands are always stained with earth, even after washing. His cups and bowls are never perfect, a wobble here, a lean there, but they are well loved. No two pieces are alike, yet they all belong to the same family, scattered through every home, clinking softly at mealtime. There's a communal feel to everything in Elderberry Hollow. The baker's oven is large enough to hold several families' loaves at once. Each morning, before dawn, villagers bring their dough in proofing baskets, carefully marked with symbols so they'll know which is theirs. And each afternoon, they collect the golden rounded loaves, sometimes with a bit of gossip, sometimes with a quiet nod of thanks. Children help where they can, though it's often more play than work. They chase chickens in circles, bring in firewood, half of it dropped along the way, and fill buckets at the well while splashing half the water onto their tunics. They learn early how to knead dough, spin wool, patch holes. Not perfectly, but lovingly. Animals are part of the rhythm too, not distant, but familiar, almost neighbors. Cows low as they're milked each morning, their breath steaming in the cool air. Goats climb wherever they can, always mischievous. Chickens patrol the village paths like feathery sentries, and dogs doze under carts, blinking lazily at passers-by. At the edge of the woods, hives hum with bees, the beekeepers moving slowly and speaking softly, as if not to disturb the very air. Evenings, as you've seen, are quiet, but the daylight brings small gatherings. A patch of grass near the well often becomes a place of shared rest, where elders sit with baskets of mending or bundles of herbs, their hands busy, their voices low. They share remedies and riddles, folk tales and complaints about the weather. There is always weather to discuss. On certain days, a peddler arrives, not often, but often enough that his visits feel like miniature festivals. He brings ribbon and soap, copper pins and dyed thread, sometimes a new song or story from another village. The children follow him in a cluster, eyes wide, feet muddy. He stays the night in the inn, sharing a room with the road dust and the scent of faraway things. The village priest, Father Alwyn, tends not only to souls but also to chickens, fruit trees, and a very temperamental goose named Mildred. His chapel garden is orderly and overflowing. Leeks, parsnips, mint, wormwood, and roses, all growing in tidy rows. When not tending to his small congregation, he writes with great care in the parish ledger, his script neat and curling, his thoughts often wandering into the margins, with small notes about births, weather, or dreams. Sometimes when a new child is born, the village celebrates not with ceremony but with food. A shared pot of stew left on the doorstep, a round of cheese, a cake sweetened with honey. Names are whispered as blessings, and neighbors drop by with offerings and advice, some helpful, some simply traditional. The baby is swaddled in soft wool, passed gently from lap to lap like a candle. Love, in Elderberry Hollow, is rarely loud. It's the extra egg left in a neighbor's basket, the borrowed knife returned sharpened, the quiet presence at someone's side after loss, not to fix it, but simply to be there. It's woven into the threads of daily kindness, unnoticed unless you stop and look. Festivals are rare, but treasured. The harvest feast is the grandest, with tables set up in the square, piled high with roasted root vegetables, meat pies, and apples stewed in cinnamon. Music rings out, not professional, but joyful. A lute, a pipe, and a timbre played by the blacksmith's eldest son. People dance in simple steps, laughter rising like the smoke from evening fires. There is a village storyteller, of course. There always is. Hers is not a title, but a role that fits like an old cloak. Her name is Marin, and her voice carries the lilt of mountains far away. She gathers the children by the fire at the inn some evenings and speaks in slow rhythms, painting worlds with words. The stories are of clever foxes, enchanted meadows, and knights who forget to be brave or remember just in time. But her favorite stories are the old ones, the ones rooted right in Elderberry Hollow, where names are familiar and ghosts are kind. Not every day is light and laughter. Sometimes crops fail, sometimes a roof leaks, or an ankle turns, or a winter comes too early. But the village has learned how to carry one another. There is a kind of magic in that. Not the kind with wands or spells, but the deeper sort, the kind that grows slowly and blooms quietly. It's in the way firewood appears at your door before you ask, in the way the healer remembers which child has nightmares, in the way everyone knows the tune to the same lullaby, even if they learned it from different mothers. The tools of life are simple here: mortars and pestles, spindles and shears, shovels with worn handles, baskets woven from willow branches. They are passed down like stories, like names, like recipes. Nothing is wasted. Old tunics become quilt patches. Cracked pots hold seeds. Even broken chairs find new purpose as kindling for the hearth. Seasons shift slowly, and life with them. In spring, the air smells of wet soil and green things. In summer, dust and sweet hay. Autumn brings smoke and cider, winter a hush of snow and wool. Each season carries its own sounds too. The splash of muddy boots, the hum of bees, the crunch of frost, the song of distant geese. Time in Elderberry Hollow doesn't pass in hours, but in moments. The sound of bread crust cracking as it cools, the feel of warm water over cold hands, the hush of a shared silence, the flicker of candlelight just before it's snuffed out for the night. And through it all, there is sleep, gentle, earned, sacred. After days filled with rhythm and reason, laughter and labor, the people of Elderberry Hollow drift into their dreams like leaves floating down a stream. Each cottage glows briefly in the dusk, then darkens. Each bed holds a story, some finished, some still forming. The village breathes as one, even in sleep. And you, dear listener, are still with it, moving softly through this memory, this gentle life. You've walked the lanes, felt the brush of wool against your skin, smelled the bread, heard the rhythm of feet on stone. You've sat beside the fire, watched shadows climb the beams, and listened to voices telling stories you somehow already knew. This isn't a place you've seen. It's a place you've remembered. And in this remembering, you are safe. You are warm. You are at peace. The people of Elderberry Hollow may never know you walked among them, but you were there, watching, listening, feeling the slow turning of their days and the quiet comfort of their nights. And now, as you rest, their world rests with you. The wheel turns, the fire fades, the woolen blankets rustle softly. Sleep, dear one. You belong to this moment now, this gentle, timeless rhythm. Let go and drift with it. Night in Elderberry Hollow does not arrive with its sudden darkness. It flows in gently, like ink spilled across parchment, soft, creeping, deliberate. Light lingers for a time, hanging just above the hills like a promise not yet broken. Then, slowly, the world exhales. The last of the evening sounds fade. The clinking of crockery is replaced by the sigh of the wind. The murmur of voices behind shutters trails into silence. Laughter dwindles into yawns, and then stillness. But it is not a silence of emptiness. It is a silence full of things, soft, secret things that belong only to the night. Close your eyes if they aren't already. Picture the village as it is now, seen from above. A scattering of cottages, dimly lit from within, their thatched roofs dark against the starlit fields. The smoke from hearths has thinned to wisps, and the air holds a coolness that invites cloaks to be pulled a little tighter and blankets to be drawn up beneath the chin. From the chapel's small belfry, a single bell tolls once, not for service, not for warning, but simply to mark the hour. It rings like a heartbeat, slow and sonorous, drifting over rooftops and vanishing into the trees. Then, other sounds emerge. You might hear the creak of old wood, beams shifting in the roof overhead, doors expanding and settling with the night's moisture. These are the house's ways of stretching, breathing, murmuring back to the earth from which it came. Outside, a soft breeze rustles the dry leaves still clinging to the orchard trees. Some flutter loose and drift quietly to the earth, unseen and unheard, unless you are truly listening. Somewhere, a wooden shutter taps gently against its latch, a rhythmic sound like a lullaby played on an old drum. Far in the distance, at the edge of the woods, an owl calls. The sound is low and steady, repeated every few moments, like a guardian of the dark. Its echo carries, brushing against chimney tops, traveling between fields until it fades entirely. Near the stream, frogs croak intermittently, answering one another in a slow, sleepy conversation. The water itself continues its quiet journey, trickling, bubbling, slipping over stones that have never moved, not in living memory. Now and then, the faint bleat of a sheep rises from the far pens, not alarmed, not restless, just a soft sound of repositioning, of dreams interrupted and then resumed. A cow shifts its weight in the barn, and the gentle clatter of a rope against a wooden post rings out, then settles again. Closer now, near one of the cottages, a window creaks open. A young girl leans out briefly, her long braid catching the moonlight. She breathes in the night air, her eyes half closed, then draws back inside, the shutter gently closing behind her with a hollow wooden knock. A soft snore comes from somewhere, perhaps from the cottage where the tanner and his 6 sons share a loft under the beams. Their slumber is heavy and untroubled, the kind that follows a day of labor and laughter. Their snores blend together in a strange sort of harmony, accompanied only by the sound of straw rustling as someone turns over in their sleep. Near the inn, the tavern cat stalks through the grass. Her paws are silent. Only the occasional crunch of gravel beneath her pads marks her path. She pauses beside a stone wall, blinks at a moth fluttering near a torch bracket, then vanishes again into the shadows, a whisper of motion, in a world gone still. The inn itself is quiet now. Its fire has been reduced to glowing coals, its benches empty, tankards rinsed and stacked. Upstairs, travelers dream in strange tongues, dreams of places far beyond Elderberry Hollow, dreams the village will never know. But for tonight, their sleep is safe within these walls. From another cottage, you hear the rustle of parchment, someone reading by candlelight long past when they should. The flame flickers as a finger turns a page, its glow playing over the reader's face. Eventually, the candle gutters low, and the parchment slips from their hands as sleep takes hold. Even the animals have their language at night. The dog curled beside the hearth lets out a slow, steady breath, his tail twitching slightly with dreams of running. In the loft, the chickens murmur in their sleep, a quiet chorus of clucks and sighs, barely louder than the rustling of feathers. You might imagine yourself now, walking softly between these homes, invisible but present, a gentle observer. You pass by a shuttered window and hear the quiet rhythm of someone breathing. You step past a stable and feel the warm breath of a horse, even in sleep. You lean beside a stone wall and feel the cool roughness against your palm, the lichen damp with dew. The stars wheel overhead, silent and cold, but beautiful. The moonlight paints every rooftop with a silver, every path with pearl. A snail creeps slowly across a mossy stone, and the faintest sound of its journey might be heard if one were still enough. A spider, industrious even at night, spins its web between the eaves of a cottage, its silken thread catching the moonlight like a harp string. You pass the chapel again. The door's locked now, but the scent of beeswax and lavender lingers near its threshold. A candle still burns inside, a votive left for a loved one, or perhaps simply a light to hold back the dark. It flickers in its holder, casting a halo against the stone wall. In the square, the oil lamp on its post still glows faintly. Moths dance lazily in its orbit, and the circle of light seems like an island in a sea of shadow. A bat swoops low, quick and silent, then vanishes into the trees. Rain begins again, not the heavy, sudden kind, but a soft misting, the kind that clings to cloaks and blankets, that darkens the thatch without sound, that makes the air smell of earth and green things. The kind of rain that tells you it's all right to rest. Drips fall from leaves and eaves, pattering onto windowsills and stone. The puddles in the path deepen slightly, catching reflections of starlight before they ripple and blur. A hedgehog snuffles through the hedge, then curls tight beneath a root, safe from the weather and the world. And still the village sleeps. The breath of the people, of the land itself, rises and falls like tide. The fire in one hearth sighs its last flame. A door creaks faintly as it swells in the damp. Somewhere, a baby murmurs in sleep, then nestles deeper into the crook of a mother's arm. These sounds, these quiet, ancient sounds, are the heartbeat of the night. You don't need to do anything now. You don't need to understand them, to name them, or to chase them. You only need to hear them, to let them wash over you, as soft as linen, as steady as the seasons. You are not separate from this world. You are part of it, a thread in the thatch, a hush in the wind, a breath behind a shutter. You are safe here. You are welcome. The night holds you, as it holds the village, gently, tenderly, without question or demand. Let the owl's call fade. Let the rain lull you. Let the creak of old wood be the sound of trust, not fear. Let the night speak its language to you, the language of stillness, of shadow, of softness. There is nothing left to do. You have walked the village. You have listened to its heartbeat. You have heard the turning of the world in the hush between raindrops and the rhythm of dreamers at rest. The wind whispers goodnight through the trees. The water sings its lullaby to the stones. And the stars above it all keep watch in silence. Sleep now, dear one. Sleep with the village. Sleep with the sounds of night. And now, with the village deep in its slumber and the stars thick above, the dreams begin. Not just for one soul, not only for the child curled beside the fire, or the shepherd wrapped in wool in his distant cottage, but for all of Elderberry Hollow. Dreams rise like mist, curling from chimneys, drifting down lanes, collecting in low corners and among the beams overhead. Beneath every thatched roof lies a story in sleep. The Thatcher family's little boy, barely 5 years old, dreams of chasing rabbits across a golden meadow. His feet are impossibly fast in the dream, his laughter weightless. The rabbits hop and pause, but they never truly flee. They are playmates, not prey. Somewhere in the background of his dream is the scent of apples, the rustle of hay, the voice of his sister calling, not to scold, but to join. His sister dreams too, though hers is quieter. She sees herself weaving a ribbon through her hair at the edge of a spring festival. The wind carries music, and petals from cherry blossoms rain gently down. She's not dancing, not yet, but she's waiting for someone to offer a hand. She doesn't know who. Maybe it doesn't matter. In the loft of the tanner's cottage, where 6 brothers lie in a jumble of straw and elbows, dreams tumble like stones down a hill. One imagines a cart full of sweets, honey cakes, roasted nuts, plum tarts lined up in rows. Another dreams of climbing a hill taller than the bell tower and shouting from the top just to hear the echo. A third rides a cow like a steed through the village square, waving a wooden sword with heroic absurdity. The dreams overlap and blur, much like their laughter during the day. Elsewhere, an elderly woman dreams of her youth, not with sorrow, but with calm. She sees her mother spinning wool in the light of a spring window, her father planting beans in dark, rich soil. The dream doesn't need action. It's a memory replayed like a favorite melody, warm and familiar, filling her heart even as her body rests still beneath the heavy quilts. The storyteller, Marin, dreams of a tale she hasn't told yet. In her dream, she walks through a forest not far from Elderberry Hollow, where the trees whisper in languages forgotten. A fox leads her along a winding trail, pausing often to look back, to make sure she follows. In the dream, she never reaches the end. But she doesn't mind. The walk is the story. The shepherd, in his lone cottage on the hill, sleeps with one hand curled near the crook of his dog's back. He dreams of stars, not just watching them, but reaching them. He dreams he can pluck them like fruit and tuck them into his pockets. He carries them back to the village and drops one beside every door, a small light for the nights to come. Even the animals dream in their own quiet way. The inn's tabby cat, curled tightly on a mat, imagines herself hunting great dragons, leaping from chair to table with fiery grace. The tavern goat, strange as it sounds, dreams of dancing, hooves clicking on wooden floors, bells swinging in rhythm. The baker's dog dreams of warm bread, because of course he does. The very walls of the cottages seem to hum with these dreams. The timbers that have held generations of sleepers now cradle them in this one moment. The straw in their beds rustles faintly with the shifting weight of sleep. Woolen blankets rise and fall with breath, and the dreams, they deepen, soften, spread. They drift beyond the houses now. They move across the village paths, brushing the mossy stones and fence posts. They slip beneath the doors of the chapel and rest in the wooden pews. They linger near the well, where moonlight dances on the water's surface. They pool around the village square, touching the steps of the inn, the bakery, the blacksmith's forge. All these places, silent now, still carry the echo of the day. And those echoes become stories in the minds of the sleepers. Perhaps you too are dreaming. Perhaps in your mind you walk again through Elderberry Hollow, not as a visitor this time, but as part of it. Maybe you carry a basket of warm rolls to a neighbor, or help tie bundles of herbs to dry. Maybe you sit by the stream and feel the water slide over your fingers, or lie in a field while the clouds drift like sheep across the sky. There is no urgency here, no task to complete, no destination that cannot wait. In the dreams of Elderberry Hollow, everything can take its time. Somewhere a candle flutters to its end, the last flame in the village, and the room it once lit goes dark. But the darkness is not empty. It is velvet. It is shelter. It is peace. The rain has passed, leaving behind damp stone, glistening leaves, and the scent of clean earth. In one cottage, a child turns in sleep, murmurs and sighs. In another, a cat stretches in its slumber, tail flicking once before stillness returns. And through it all, the dreams carry on, weaving, winding, spilling through the cracks between floorboards and whispers. They are dreams of simple joys, of summer fields and candlelight, of the taste of fresh berries and the sound of a lute on a warm afternoon, of holding hands, of laughter, of safety. They are dreams that heal, gently, without force, dreams that listen to the heart more than the mind, dreams that do not ask questions, but offer comfort in place of answers. If you find yourself still awake, that is all right. You don't need to follow every word. You don't need to keep your thoughts still. Let them wander, the way a leaf floats down a slow stream. Let them drift. Let them fade. There is no need to listen closely now. The story is still here, even if your mind drifts elsewhere. You are part of Elderberry Hollow. You are beneath a thatched roof wrapped in wool, cradled in a world that moves only gently. Nothing here can trouble you. The night is thick with dreams, and each one welcomes you. Even the stars seem slower now, dimmer, more forgiving. They blink in and out behind slow-moving clouds. The moon has moved higher, watching over all with ancient calm. It needs no attention. It simply is. Let your breath become the rhythm of this village, in and out, in and out, as steady as the stream, as slow as the wind, as deep as the earth beneath the fields. The world of Elderberry Hollow rests, and so may you. Sleep as the baker sleeps, with the scent of flour in his beard and a smile from dreams of laughter. Sleep as the potter sleeps, his hands curled like they still hold clay. Sleep as the children sleep, their dreams stitched with stories and the light of warm afternoons. Sleep as the shepherd sleeps, beneath the roof he built with his own hands. Sleep as the cat sleeps, certain that the world is warm and safe, and hers. Let your own dreams find you, as soft as candle smoke, as sure as the tide, as silent as snowfall. And if you forget the village by morning, that's all right too. Elderberry Hollow will remember you. It will be here, quiet and waiting each time you close your eyes. No path is too long. No dream is ever truly lost. For now, just rest. You are home.